Oh no, tell me about that. Where? At the office or home?
Home.
Oh man, where do you live? Like what
I,
state? What
I live
city?
in Philly.
So it's cold
Yeah, it's nice and cold.
and you got a roof leak, man.
Yeah, dude, lucky me. Oh well, dude, it could be a lot worse. I got a fucking roof over my head to leak, which is better than a whole lot of
Yes.
people in this world, right?
Oh, that you are who I want to talk to, my friend. I listen to Tony Robbins like every morning, or whoever I'm listening to get my pump up, to learn about life. That is what I was thinking when you said that. I was like roof leak. I was like, no, now you got like an automatic ice dispenser coming out of your ceiling. You wealthy now. You're wealthy now.
Seriously.
Right? That I always find the positive, man. That's what it's all about. So
That's what I
the
try
way
to
the
do.
podcast is, just so there's not confusion, because sometimes there's a little confusion. We just talk like we're in the podcast right now.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Sorry about the whole name misspelled thing. How did you only get one L? How did that
Oh,
happen?
because my name is Wilfred. So I just cut it at Will, but it's a 1L name.
Yeah, my father-in-law's Wilfred.
Nah, get the fuck out of here.
Straight up, dude. He wanted me to name my daughter Wilfredita.
And you
I
said,
said,
no
I said no.
thanks.
I said no. So we named her Aria. She's 6 months old and she's like going crazy. She's awesome.
That's awesome, dude. So she's 6 months?
Yeah. You got any little
Yeah,
ones?
I got a 7-month-old and a 3-year-old.
Ooh, 7-month and a 3-year-old. Wait, what's your 7-month, boy or girl?
I have 2 boys.
2 boys. How's that going?
It's gone pretty well. I think after one, I kind of forgot how hard it was. Got suckered into having a second. And now I'm like, okay, no more than 2.
Right? Because at first it's like it's like we just did the other one, so you kind of have all the stuff. It'd be cheaper if we just did it now.
Seriously, dude, for real.
Oh man. So I want to know about, first of all, I love the name SEER. I don't know if this was the reasoning why, but that's a military term: survive, evade, resist, escape, right? But you spelled the SEER, and
Yeah.
I like it for that.
I did not know that military one.
I
did not know that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know where I you know what, I remember where I heard about it. About a decade ago or 2 decades ago. I'm getting old. I was playing like Xbox Live, right? And we had a little team and we were Team SEER, but it was SERE because it was survive, evade, resist, escape. And that was just some military term.
No way. I've not heard that one.
Yeah. But I like your messaging because you're all about, making it personal.
Oh, dude, no, totally. I mean, the gig is. I think when we deal in technology, sometimes we kind of get into zeros and ones and that kind of thing, and we forget like those things are there to service the needs of people, right? At the end of the day.
Yes, sir. Technology works for us. It's to make our lives better.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to. I think, and especially in marketing, my field, you watch people get really into like, well, what's Google doing, and what's Google doing, and how do I figure out what Google wants, what Google wants, what Google wants, and it's like that's an important part of the job. But somewhere along the line, we forgot that like, well, Google wants to serve up the right answer to people and make a profit. So if that's where they're ultimately going, shouldn't we spend a little bit of our time also trying to understand what people want and how they go about finding answers to their questions when they use Google?
Exactly. That's exactly what we should be doing.
Yeah, so that's kind of my take on that. I mean, but you're starting to see Google is actually starting to push rankings down that algorithmically are showing all the right signals, but user intent wise, it's not. So you watch something rank for a week or 2 or a month, and then one day it just completely vanishes. And it's not because you did anything bad in all instances. Sometimes you're ranking for a word where you're actually not solving that person's problem. So Google's like, well, why would we keep that up there?
Oh, that's so smart though, right? Because there's enough metrics to tell if all they really need to tell is, does this site solve the problem for the person who's clicking through? And if they're Google, man, they like have the algorithms for anything. And so that's how they're ranking. Now, I remember that they did I've been around on the internet since the internet, right? Which is something that we're one of the last generations that is going to be able to say that.
Yeah, true.
But I remember when the algorithm updates were happening all the time. Everyone's finger crossed between, oh, Google's releasing their new algorithm update. Am I still going to rank? But now it seems like they've moved away from that. I'm not in that world a lot. Do you know about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, you used to have the Google Dance, you'd wait every month for them to update and, you'd see all the changes. And now that algorithm is updating in real time. I mean, I've seen search results. I mean, just, you look at Google's ability to, when the news drops, their ability to affect searches in news within minutes, in different locations based off of what news is locally relevant. So, I mean, that's just a constant state of change that Google has these days. So, yeah, sitting around waiting for Google to make an update, those days are not over, but they're pretty much over because those things are updating, at some regular intervals that aren't these big kind of wait cross your fingers days.
Yeah. How did you, at what point did you decide, oh, I'm going to go create and do SEER Interactive?
Well, you know what? I was working in search since August of '99, but around 2002, I found myself, loving the work, but not necessarily loving the places I was getting to do the work. So I went around knocking on doors of companies trying to get a job, and I spent like 18 months doing that, and I just couldn't get interviewed. And around that same time, I was volunteering at a children's hospital, and I asked my boss if I could, work through my lunch so that I could volunteer on Wednesdays and get there an hour early. And she said no. And at the time of her saying that that wasn't possible to be done, I was just sick of interviewing and trying to find a job. So that's why I quit and started the company.
Yeah, and then first of all, I'm a big design geek, right? Although my background is in writing code for enterprises, right? I am a huge fan of good design. And when I saw Sears website, I was like, oh man, the typography, it's so clear, it's beautiful. I love it. You did a really good
Thank you. I
job
mean,
on it.
that's our team, our design team, really pushed hard on a lot of those things. I mean, I'm more of a direct marketer, so I'm like, hey, get me my rankings, get me my clicks, get me my traffic, get me my conversions. I'd have probably been a direct mail marketer in a previous life or a casino marketer. Because I love how much data the casino folks always had on people and how they did their marketing. So sometimes I overlook some of those brand elements, and I think that my design team has done a really good job of helping me to learn to respect those design elements and understand the value that they truly drive. So that's a lot of kudos to them.
They're in like a whole different world over there in Vegas. The little casino world. They got the cutting edge technology, the most advanced metrics, and they have the most advanced marketing because it's like we want to analyze everything and then convince people to do things. Like it's just an art.
It's in their blood. I mean, you have to
Yeah.
think about it. Like before we had BigQuery and all this crap, they were finding ways to pull down tons of data to understand how to mail people, when to mail them, and whatnot. And I always thought that when you look at data driven marketing, pre-internet, casinos were probably the closest people you had to the concept of consistently A/B testing, trying different things, dropping your big mailers, and seeing what kind of happens. Those guys were really good at that stuff.
You're gonna hate me a little bit here. I just found out what BigQuery was by you saying that.
Oh, that's all good, dude. I just found out what it
How
was
did
like
I
5 months ago. So
Unbelievable, man. Like I'm looking at this. This is a thing that I've actually talked about building with other people before because there's such a need for it.
what's that?
Yeah. BigQuery is something that I've talked about building with other people because there's such a need for it.
Yeah,
Like you can just throw everything in there. And now I'm going to talk about BigQuery in a future episode. I'm going to go make notes after this call because I just Googled it. I was like, he just dropped BigQuery. Is that something I don't know about? Now I got to learn about it, right?
yeah. No, it's starting to be a game changer for us. Just the ability to get so much of our data from so many different data points into one place, to be able to manipulate that is starting to be really cool for us.
So I want some. You're clearly very knowledgeable. Have a large company. Love the baby pictures on the about page. By the way,
Thank
I
you,
think that's so cool.
thank you.
You managed to get them for everybody.
Yeah,
That's a lot of
it's like the
people.
first thing you got to do when you start is ask your mom for the baby picture.
Yeah, you got your mom's phone number. Good, because you got to call her and get the baby pictures.
Seriously.
So we have our audience is kind of split up into three different segments. The first segment is CTOs, that are, fully in their zone, right? Have medium to large size companies. The second part is usually the lead developers who are aspiring to become CTO or just listening for entertainment value. They have a business edge to them, right? They're not just developers. And then the third one, just a chunk of our audience is the next generation, the people that are either in computer science school or they're 16, 18 at home in their garage doing a technology startup trying to make mind controlled drones or something. Right. So with that in mind, with all your expertise with the digital marketing, what sort of tips come to mind as like areas of interest that they should be looking into? Like what's hot right now? What would bring them value?
So for each one of those three audiences or one specifically?
No, just pick and choose. It doesn't matter. It's relaxed. Anything that comes to mind for any of them
I
is
mean, to
good
be honest
enough.
with you, in my world, the CTO, depending on the organization, is typically a massive roadblock, you know, because some of the
Nice.
changes that you want to make to pages and templates and things, they're like, you're not changing all this stuff for Google. I got other reasons and other masters I got to serve other than Google, right? So I think, there are definitely some ways to make that relationship more friendly and work more together and arm people with the information they need to prioritize, which I think is part of the role of the marketer. And the other thing I think of is, data that it just exists in silos, man. Like, um, anything you can do to start bringing that data together, we do that a lot here. And what we find is that we start to get people to work together because we're able to bring their different data. Like each person looks at their data in a silo and they really don't understand how to read the other person's data. The minute you bring that data together and show them what happens when they both look at their jobs in a kind of collective way instead of a my data, your data way, it just starts to open up some really interesting dialogues and we start to create breakthroughs. So those are two things I've been talking about a good bit.
Nice. So bringing the data together from the different, because I've been in making enterprise software for a long time, and it's always interesting. I'll go, like I did a real estate one for a long time, right, with large real estate companies, like the top 10 in the United States. And one of the things I found is they had different programs for sending flyers, right, like physical mailers. They had different programs for listings that would go into newspapers. They had programs for their contact managers. They had programs for their targeting, like just everywhere, but they were all databases and they essentially had the same customer records copied into all of them. And I was sitting there, I was like, guys, like you should bring all of this data together. They're like, but it's all in its own spot. And I'm like, yeah, but when you pull it together, you can do new things.
Yeah, and I think the do new things, I think that's on us, right? Because when I would say to clients, but look what you can do. It's like until I made it real for them and showed them how their KPIs were ultimately affected by bringing this data together, they didn't give a shit.
Right.
Um, like for instance, we ran into a CTO once who was bonus. You got to take time to talk to people because you also realize like we had a CTO wouldn't get anything done, wouldn't get anything done, and we found out that like he was bonus based off of how quickly the pages, how quick the site loaded, because somewhere up top somebody thought that was a good way to bonus somebody. So if
What?
you wanted to even get basic analytics tags on the website, he was like, I'm fighting that. And we're like, why is this guy fighting it? And you eventually realize, well, somebody incentivized him to make the pages load so fast and keep him under a certain number that therefore he was blocking other things in the organization that could have been better for the organization as a whole. And that's a great example of what happens when people have different KPIs and they work in a silo.
Wow. That is completely original. You couldn't even make that up. Well, that's amazing.
Like if how you get your bonus is different than how I get my bonus,
And they're
then
conflicting.
it's easy for there to potentially be a conflict. And if there is, well, then I got to put food on the table. So why would I listen to you, not get my bonus for the good of the whole company, right? Like you just don't really see that. I mean, I've seen some crazy shit. I've seen a banking client of ours took 2 years to redirect the bank they acquired to their bank. And you're like, 2 years to do a 301 redirect? Like, we've been able to do that since the invention of the internet. Why is it taking you guys 2 years? So you run into things, and then they're saying, well, why aren't we ranking for these words? And you're like, because you acquired a company and you're not willing to redirect the site over in a way that Google says is friendly. And they're like, well, if we don't rank for these words, we're not getting the traffic. It's like, yeah, you're never going to get that traffic because this person over here will not make the redirect.
Wow.
And it might not be their fault. It might be really complex, but Google doesn't care about how complex your setup is. You just don't get the traffic and the rankings and the revenue.
So ultimately, with that one individual, did the incentive get switched to like a conversion or value that the company brings to the world, or like something more logical?
That really wasn't my battle to fight.
No, but like
My
ultimately,
my job
did
was
it?
to understand, like,
Yeah,
hey, why are you not making these changes? You go, oh, okay, well, what am I going to do? Tell the CEO now? Like, hey, you got to change the way you do your incentive comp. Like, no, I'm out of my swim lane, right?
yeah.
Um, so I don't want to get there talking about incentive comp, thinking I know something, and to have the CEO tell me something like, well, every second that this site loads, I make another $15 billion. It's like, oh, okay, well, shit. All right, I get it. So I always try to respect the fact that everybody's got their own art,
Yeah.
and and how they do things. And I think for a long time, a lot of search professionals have kind of shit on people's work. So I try to do a much better job of understanding why people are making the decisions they make when they become roadblocks, instead of just being like dumbass. You know what I mean?
I like you. You operate like me. No, that's smart, man. If you understand why people are doing something, then you're in a position to help and create change, or at least
Exactly.
have
I
the
don't
conversation.
I don't learn anything from saying you're dumb, right? I learn
Right.
nothing. I learn nothing from going back to my team members and talking shit about how dumb you are, right? Like, oh, can you believe that client's so dumb? No, what I actually learn is if I can listen and create breakthroughs, then I learn how to ask the right questions, how to dig in, how to make something that's so clear to me be clear to the person who I'm trying to talk with, and convince that it's in their best interest too. Like, that's where you learn. You sure as hell don't learn sitting around the lunch table bitching about your clients.
Yeah, and all that does is create a culture of complaining and negativity, which just drags your business down. So it's worse than just complaining about the clients. It's like sets a tone, right? You don't want that.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I don't want that. That's not allowed. Like our business, we're all super positive and we're realistic, but like we focus on, what's working.
Yeah, no, totally.
Focus on the positive. Yeah. So if let's run this question. So I'm gonna give you a hypothetical. You got a startup, maybe some early 20 somethings, and they want your advice on should they be making content, what should they be doing to get the word out about their new mind controlled drone that they just made. This is hypothetical. This isn't real, by the way.
So if they were asking me
I
for
wish it was
advice,
real. Yeah, I'm just curious because with the expert knowledge that you have, let's just say they're 20 somethings, they have a mind controlled drone that they've made, and you're an individual who is well versed in marketing and ranking and content, I'm assuming, because that's how you
yep.
market and rank, right? So what would you suggest that they're saying they're emailing you cold. They're saying, "Will, help us out. We got this mind controlled drone. What should we be doing for our strategy in the area that you're an expert in?"
I tell them to do offline marketing,
Nice.
because it's like search. You have to create demand for people to go to do search. So, I always say this, like, before cell phones were ubiquitous, like, people didn't even know that you could have a phone that didn't have a cord attached to it, right? So the way to get in front of those people was through, like, TV. Like, you need to do mass media to say, "Hey world, there's a whole different way of doing this out here," because they don't even know to go search for it, right? So if somebody's coming with something that's really kind of cutting edge, never been seen before in the marketplace, you're like, people don't know to search for that. So you've got to create mass market demand, and then sometimes you can piggyback off of the, like, hey, here's your current drone. Let me show you why that is, not as popular, or not as good. But you really need to do more mass market stuff, whether it's YouTube, banners, TV, whatever. But, like, to me, that's more broad based marketing.
So you would just show them that this mind controlled thing is an option, and then from that people are gonna start go searching and looking for it.
Yeah, eventually. But if you think about it, right? So if you're really into drones, there's probably certain
Yeah.
people you follow on YouTube. It's like, great. Well, then I'm going to put ads out my new cool thing on YouTube the same way I would have gone out and done television back in the day. So I would find out what my target demo is, what kind of stuff they typically read, write about, etc. Which you can do through Facebook. You can do that through, kind of through platforms like Google and YouTube. And then I would advertise broad based on those things. I'd be on Instagram, I'd be on Facebook, I'd be on YouTube, trying to get the new, like, hey, there's a new way to manage your, drone that you may never have heard of. You kind of got to show that to somebody to get them interested. They're not out there Googling it just yet.
Nice. So you're a founder of SEER, right?
Yep.
It's doing very well, and it looks like it's doing really well. I love the messaging, and you got a big team, and you're really sharp. So I think it's doing well. But when you were growing your team at the beginning, like, what are you looking for when you were growing your team in those initial hires when you're expanding? Like, what, from a people aspect, what were you looking for?
I think early on you need people who don't quit easy, especially when you're trying to pioneer in a space and you're trying to break new ground, and you need people who don't accept the easy no as an answer. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because search, especially in its infancy when it was early, like nobody knew all the rules. We were all learning as we go, and the people that are okay trying something, failing, trying it again, failing, trying it again, we're going to learn 3 times more than the person that sits around waiting for a new article to come out to tell them how to do exactly what to do. So early on, I needed people who had tenacity. I never really valued, I valued to some extent tenure, but I really value tenacity, because tenure doesn't mean shit for 95% of my job. The fact that I was doing optimizations on Northern Light, Alta Vista, Hotbot, Web Crawler, InfoSeek, and i1.com mean nothing, that I was doing that like 17, 18 years ago in terms of what I have to do today. So I think sometimes we get a little bit, I think people, when they're looking at services like ours, they get a little bit too much like, how long have you been doing it? And I'm like, do you like to go home and figure this shit out? Like, do you like to take your engine apart and rebuild it? Like, have you taken your Roomba apart and rebuilt it just to understand how it works? I'll take that brain any day over somebody who knows how to do every single thing to help a site to rank well today, because I know inevitably in 2 weeks or in a month, that's going to change. And what I don't want you to do is be holding on to the old way, because that's what makes you comfortable when there's a new way out there.
Oh, preach it, Will. Dude, you and I, our minds are similar. Like, and I can tell that you're the tenacious person, right? Because people will say, hey, did you see the new Netflix so and so? I'll be like, no, but I took my drone to its max height last night. I found out I can put it 400 feet up.
Yeah.
Like, right?
Netflix is the fucking devil.
Ooh, man. Yes, there we
I
go.
hear people saying they're not where they want to be, and that's fine. I think we're all trying to push and move up. But then you talk about like, yo, did you see this new thing on Netflix? I'm like, nah. Like, I was either with my kid, or I was watching some YouTube video trying to learn some shit instead of watching Netflix. And on occasion, do I let myself zone out? Yeah, I let myself zone out and watch Netflix. But you better believe while I'm doing that, I'm like, you could be at the gym, you could be reading a book, you could be watching a video. Yep. And once in a while, I give myself the break. I'm not crazy. But what I don't allow myself to do is sit around and binge watch shit on a weekend, like unless I've just done so much work during the week that I really need to just zone out. But nah, it's not my style. I'd rather play a video game than watch Netflix. So at least in a video game, like if I'm playing like Call of Duty or something, I'm progressing. There's a score. I know if I'm getting better every day. Whereas like I don't want to be good at watching Netflix.
What's your go-to Call of Duty? Are you sniper? Are you assault rifle? Are you pistols only?
I haven't played Call of Duty in 3 fucking years because I got a 3-year-old, right? So,
Dude, tell me, I haven't either. I'm trying to reminisce with you, Will.
Dude,
Come
I don't
on.
remember what it was like. My kid the other day was throwing. He was using my Grand Theft Auto 5 as a fucking frisbee. I was like, God damn it! Like that used to be my jam, and now it's all scratched up, and I don't even care because I know I ain't gonna play it. I was definitely not a sniper though. I don't have the patience to snipe. I just go in, guns blazing, trying to tear somebody up.
Yeah. Oh, that is so good. I was at Payway last night, and the girl asked me, "Do you guys have Payway up there?"
I never knew how to pronounce that. Now I do.
Oh, the Peewee. Some people call it Peewee. the
Yeah, I was like, I don't know how to
PEIWI,
pronounce
the
it.
Asian place. I don't know. They got some good chicken and rice. So like, I'm a fan.
Right.
So
Seriously.
I went there last night, because I was at the office and it was 8 o'clock. My wife's up in Westchester, New York, visiting her family. So I was just, working through the night and or work until 11. But I go there and pick up the pay. She's like, "Oh, what are you watching on Netflix that's interesting?" I'm like, and all of a sudden I thought to myself, I was like, no, nothing. But the book I wrote 3 months ago hit #1 on Amazon.
For real, right?
That's what I'm doing with my time. And she was like, "Oh my God, congratulations. How did you do that?" And I looked at her, I was like, "Because I don't watch Netflix."
Yeah, man. I mean, like, I trust me, man. I've gotten into like late night feedings with my son where I'm just sitting there and I got nothing to do because I'm holding a bottle. Like, that's cool. But
Of course, man.
I'm not trying to get good at relaxing, right? Like,
Right.
I just don't wake up in the morning trying to be like, it'd be awesome to be fifth place out of like the top 100 agencies. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't
Right.
know how to wake up not trying to be the best that I can be. And I just don't see how me being the best of me allows me to binge watch, for seasons and seasons and seasons. I just don't get it.
Yeah, because my mind, when I slow down, my mind will start gearing up with, you could be doing this. You could do this. You'd be one step closer. If you just did this right now, it would take you 20 minutes. You'd be one step closer. And no matter what, you have to do this step. Like, it's not going to go away.
Ooh,
And
yeah,
then,
right.
that's what my mind does. And so then I'm like, okay, I'll go do it. Like, I go do it. And then I'm like, done. I'm like, great. But then once you do one or two, you're like, all right, I'm in a rhythm now. Let's see what I can do for this whole block, and then it's just like, and then you feel the sense of accomplishment, the feeling of accomplishment and pride in my work is more rewarding than any show I could ever watch.
Yep. Preach. You got it,
Yeah.
dude. Like, nah, for real. Like, it's just one of those things. Like that's how I dropped 20 pounds and I don't have a lot of weight to lose as it is, but I had a little bit. And the way I did it is I was waking up in the morning thumbing through other people's lives on Instagram and shit. And I was like, look at yourself, man. Every morning you wake up, you say you don't have the time to work out, but you spend a half hour thumbing through other people's lives as you quote unquote wake up. So then I just started watching exercise videos from bed. And then that would make me get up. Then it would make me go downstairs. I'd Chromecast the damn thing and I'd work out. And I'd be like, look, I started off being like 5 minute ab workout, right? Because I was like, if that's all I got, that's all I'm going to do. But then once
Yep.
you start being like, well, shit, I got another 10 minutes. Let me put in 10-minute workout. And, okay, well, today I got 15. So, like, yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. Like, I try to think of the person I want to be. And, I love to relax as much as the next person, but I just don't see how, watching 8 episodes of something in a row is going to get me to the kinds of things that actually make me feel good about myself.
Oh, man, I'm gonna when I'm in Philly next, because I travel a lot for around conferences and work and stuff. I'm gonna come by and hang out with you. We'll go get some of that payway or something.
We don't have that shit in Philly, man. I'll take you to Han
Oh, what
Dynasty,
do you
bro.
have?
Like,
Oh,
we got a little small
geez.
spot. Oh, dude, it's good shit. I'll hook you up.
Thank you, thank you. I love when I get to go visit and get the local food culture hookup because it's always the best.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It's
I
always
will
the
tell you
best.
where to go.
So what are you excited? You're always doing stuff. You're making things happen. You're growing. You're going for that #1 spot. You don't want to be number 5. You don't want to be number anything else other than #1 because that's the position to be in. So what are you excited about as with your company as founder that you're really pumped about that you're doing right now to get up to that next level?
So there's two things that I think have a potential to put SEER in like a rarefied air in our industry. And one is we're starting to really look at the UX of the handoff from Google and Google searching to your website. So what I mean by that is I think UX people traditionally are like, great, I'm building this web app. Somebody comes into the homepage, they click on this, they click on this. How do they interact with that page? That's fine. However, I think the thing that's been missing from that is, well, wait, not everybody that gets to this page just came in through the homepage. So
Yeah.
we like to look at what's the diversity of the words that people are searching for where they also land on that page. And if I type in Citibank CD rates and I get to a page about opening an account that just happens to rank, well, then that page is failing for me. But if your only belief was that somebody gets to the open account page by clicking the open account button on the homepage, you don't realize that page is ranking for a whole lot of other keywords for which they are not the right answer, right? And for me, I love looking at that and then saying, how can we as search professionals better help that user kind of find a better answer so our client doesn't lose their rankings because they're not answering the user's problem right. So that's a big thing that we've been doing, is looking at the handoff between um, the search engine to the website as a little piece of UX that I think is an opportunity. The other thing that I'm really big into is bigger data sets, which I talked about earlier, which is, how do we start to take bigger data sets, bringing them together and mashing them up in interesting ways and turning that into visuals that when our clients see them, they immediately get clarity to something that other folks haven't been able to show them so clearly, or that maybe no one's ever shown them at all. I mean, a lot of the work we're doing to combine data right now, our clients at huge companies are like, man, nobody's ever shown me this way. And I'm feeling really powerful and positive about the direction that we're headed as more and more of our team members are getting certified in Power BI and Tableau and things like that. So that's been really fun for me.
Well, you're in a unique position to really do well in that data space because the most important thing is the metrics. It's metrics first, right? Like what you're going to be able to show them, and then you have the capacity to build. Because there's many engineering firms that could say, "Yeah, we could build you whatever you want. What do you want?" But that's not as valuable as saying, "Look at this," and then we can do that. Like you can just show it to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are the two things I'm really stoked about for I think that those things, if we nail them, get us a chance to talk differently about search for the next 3 to 5 years before that becomes commonplace. Because I can just give you example after example after example, where I've seen Google basically suppress algorithmic rankings for user signals. And it's just like, whoa, once Google understands that this piece of content algorithmically has the right words on it, has got the words in the right places, has the right amount of links, like once Google figures that out and says, but it's not solving a person's problem, whew, now it's like, if all you focus on is algorithmic signals, how are you actually going to help your client if all of a sudden you're doing everything right algorithmically and they keep losing rankings because you're not actually solving the user's problem?
That is so true. You could say the same thing about a business. You could look at it like technically, like from the metrics of it, and be like, everything's doing great, but the numbers are going down a little bit because you're not solving the user's problem, right? So
Yeah,
keeping your
right.
client close is, I mean, there's no excuse, because the only reason why companies exist, and just like we were talking about earlier, technology, is to bring value to one another. At the end of the day, we're just all humans exchanging value together. And so if we're
Totally.
not doing that efficiently, nothing else matters along the way. So I love it. Real quick, last question here. I was interested with with the bank rates examples. Do you find that by having people go through and use based on how they would use it, or based on the client's goals, or do you look at data, or is it a mix of like all three?
Give me that one again.
When you were saying that people would land, like for one of the, you said there was a bank site and people would land on it for CD rates and they would get to an account open page. Like how do you find the issue that exists? Like how did you find that people are going there expecting this and getting that? Like how did that come up to you?
Gotcha. So it's a little bit intuition. It's like you
Yeah.
get a little bit of a scent, like, okay, here's how I typically do that. So I think a great example is cloud computing as a keyword. So about 3 or 4 years ago, none of the companies that we all know as the cloud computing giants were on the first page of Google. And we just happened to work with one of those companies. And one of the things that we realized, we went, oh, snap, like Google's ranking sites that I had never heard of over big ass companies who have all this like what we call like domain authority. They've got a lot of power. They should be able to rank for this stuff. And it was because when people type in cloud computing, if you look at the search results, Google's machine learning has taught it that like images were a good answer because there was a lot of image results showing up. There was Wikipedia was in the first result. When you looked at the results at the bottom, it was like basic questions like, related searches were like, cloud computing in simple terms. And we said, damn, this query, company X, is people trying to figure out what cloud computing is. And all of your pages are built to be like, hybrid cloud and all these like very technical words. So we said, if you don't write a more simplistic page, there's a good chance you're never going to rank for this. And sure enough, they eventually, after a couple months of fighting, they were like, okay, we'll write it. And literally within about 2 to 3 weeks of writing it, Google went, okay, you're in the top five. from like number 22. And that was because Google had overridden all the algorithmic signals that had told them that this answer, that algorithmically this big company was the right answer. And they were able to look at the fact that the content was so complex for all those companies at the time that like nobody could really understand it. So they had to do search after search after search to find what they really wanted. And eventually Google's like, well, why don't we just give this to people in the first place?
Oh man, I love it.
So I'm constantly on the lookout for where is there a SERP discrepancy or a search results page discrepancy. So right now, if you go ahead and search for cloud computing, I'll tell all your listeners, search for cloud computing. Click on the paid
Okay.
search results. Now, if you look at the paid search results and just kind of mentally index those pages, open a new tab, search for cloud computing, and look at the words that people are using that rank organically. And you'll see all the titles are like, what is cloud computing? What is cloud computing? Cloud computing in simple terms. And you'll notice that like the reason why Google ranks those is because that's what people who want cloud computing are really looking for. So if you click on these paid search listings, it'll be like some crazy deep thing about cloud, sign up for our white paper. And it's like, why would I sign up for a white paper for something that I don't even know what it is yet? Right? So if people are typing in cloud computing, don't know what it is. That's why Google's rewarding content like what is cloud computing? But yet people are paying for those same exact clicks, and it's like you're totally misleading the user. So like, why are you paying 50 bucks a click and dropping 10, 20, $30,000 a month on a keyword trying to give somebody a white paper when what they actually want is to explain what it is, right? Let's like give it to me in simple terms. So like we constantly are looking for discrepancies between what Google ranks organically. That's a great blueprint for what Google actually wants people to the kind of content that people want. And then we just try to make that better for our clients so that they get the ranking instead of their competitors.
Look, this is like the most effective sales thing I've ever heard in my life. Like I just pulled up on Google, I type in cloud computing, right? And I see that organically, literally the first 1, 2, 3, 4, the full first page is the words like, what is cloud
Bingo.
computing? Now I didn't type, my query was cloud
Bingo.
computing, not what is cloud computing. But then look, the top 5 first things that show above the page fold are all ads, pay-per-click ads. And it's the IBM Cloud, Riverbed, Gartner Cloud Computing, like Riverbed, like VMware Cloud Computing Service, on and off premise solutions, Dell EMC Cloud Computing, avoid unnecessary. But then you click on them on the paid ones, and it's like splash pages for their service. So they're paying for that.
When you see VMware's title, it's VMware Cloud Computing Service, on and off premise solutions. Dude, if I don't even know what cloud computing is, I surely don't know the difference between on and off premise cloud computing.
And that's what they're attempting to explain to you on their page.
And they're dropping hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to show up for that. It's like if you're going to drop hundreds of thousands of dollars per year for a query like this, I get that some people might click on that and convert. I get it. But what you're basically saying is like 99% of people won't, and I'm willing to pay. And maybe, again, this is where I take a step back. I don't have all their data. Maybe for some crazy reason they get enough conversions to make that worth it. But it's like, damn, dude, you're dropping a ton of money. Another one of my favorite queries is the word bank account. So if you search for a bank account right now, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to find certain types of companies. But the first freaking result is a rap song by 21 Savage. So you've got to think the whole page is basically about 21 Savage's song. So then you have to get way down to the bottom to start getting to Bank of America, Capital One, etc. So then if you type in bank account lyrics, you'll notice if you go to the bottom of the page or go to the page 2, let me see if I can get if you go to page 2, you see M&T Bank. It's like, why are you bidding on the word bank account lyrics? Like, help me to understand why you're doing that and why has nobody caught that? So I'm a big believer in looking at the organic search results to kind of tell me what people probably want, because those results are based off of Google's machine learning, telling them what people are doing after the click. So like those are 2 examples that I use all the time to show people, like if you just look at the organic results, Google's going to kind of tell you what people ultimately want.
That's hilarious. You just contact their. Well, here's the problem with. So I know VMware. Well, they all the large companies are isolated into different teams. So I know VMware's IoT division, right? And that's the thing because they're all. And we know Amazon. Like we're having them on the show next week, the Alexa team, and like I have a lot of these corporate or these enterprise companies, but they're all segmented into their little teams, and their individual product teams have their own marketing person, their own everything, right? They operate like these own mini companies. So there can be like some real issues. It's not just because they're VMware do they have the VMware CMO like involved in that, right? It's really interesting. So
Yep.
so what do you just email them? Hey,
I don't email them. I mean, we can't even take on new business until May. I mean, we're so loaded up on new business, on new business and growth with our existing clients that we can't even take on any new work for a while. So I just go out trying to preach to people that these things are happening so they can be smarter themselves. And that they can improve this stuff themselves. Like they don't need to hire me to do this. Some clients do, but I can't service everybody. So I might as well help people just be smarter consumers of search technology, so they can all do better jobs
do you,
themselves. Google's got enough
do
money.
you do you write a book or put out courses or anything?
Nothing. I got a YouTube channel. My company's got a YouTube channel where we try to share this stuff, but I just blog, I write, and I just try to help people, be smarter about search, from an enterprise standpoint. Like be smarter about your vendors, right? So when your vendor is bidding on the freaking word cloud computing right now, you're like, dude, what are you doing? Why aren't you catching this stuff? Like, why aren't you just looking at the organic results and realizing that this isn't what people want? I think the most dangerous place to be for the word bank account right now is the paid search ad above the video, because people are going. You can click anywhere on that video and load the video, which means they're probably getting a ton of accidental clicks on that fourth ad that's right above the video. So I just want to educate people and help make them stronger consumers of search. And I think that if I continue to put more out there like that, more will come back to me. And so far, it's worked out really well. That the more I share and the more I try to help people, the more my company grows. So I'm just going to keep doing that.
So when people want to learn from this, they can check out the YouTube channel and then your blog. What's the name of the YouTube channel? What's the name of the blog?
YouTube channels, just Google me.
Okay.
You'll find me if you Google SEER Interactive, the SEER Interactive blog, and the SEER Interactive YouTube channel, the Wil Reynolds YouTube channel are both two great places to get some of this. And then the SEER Interactive blog is probably the best place to go to get this information from us. But then, there's a lot of other great blogs to read out there too. There's Moz, they put out great
Oh, we know
stuff.
Rand. Well, he just
Yeah,
left. He just left after like,
yes, he did.
yeah, he was on the show last month. He's a real
No
cool
way.
guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me and Rand are super tight. We're getting ready to go to Madrid and Madrid and Lisbon in 3 weeks with my two kids and him and his wife and my wife and my two kids, my nanny. So me and Rand hang out a ton. He's a really really good dude.
Oh yeah, man. We had like a great conversation. He was talking about how him and his wife travel quite a bit. So that's obviously true.
Yes, they do.
And then I love his new project too. When he put it out, I sent him an email. I was like, dude, Rand, you were because he was launching it like 2 or 3 weeks before so he was on my show and his project was announced 2 weeks after he was on the show. Right.
Ah, okay.
Uh, right. So it was like a month ago or whatever. But when his new project came out, I sent him an email. I'm like, dude, Rand, this is killer because this is exactly what I've been talking about in my little tribe about a tool that should exist. Right. Because tool builders, you know what they talk about, Will. They talk about potential tools that could be
Yeah,
built, right?
exactly.
So yeah, that's so cool that you know him. I had no idea. That's awesome. Where's your nanny from? Is she from the States or
Minnesota.
Minnesota? Ours is from Germany. So now the little one's gonna grow up speaking a little German too.
Ah, well, hey, that Minnesota accent's pretty deep, so maybe my kid will
Of
learn some
course,
Minnesotan. All right.
Minnesota.
Yeah, seriously. All righty, brother. Well, you know what?
Dude,
Speaking
thank
of
you so much,
which,
man.
yeah, my
Yeah,
pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on. Let me know how I
yeah,
can help push it once it goes
yeah.
live. Always willing to
We'll
help out.
tag
And
you.
thanks for taking the time with me. I appreciate you taking the time to have me on your show.
Awesome.